we do have a request at this point for a postponement request by the applicant. The zoning code does provide that the applicant can request a postponement during the process. Mr. Wood, would you care to address that?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, I'm Mr. Young, Andrew Young, Senior Vice President from Landmark Properties. Address is 455 Epsbridge Parkway, Athens, Georgia. I was the representative from Landmark who attended the first meeting in October 2013 that was just referred to. I've attended since then 3 of the 4 neighborhood meetings, the P&Z, or Planning and Zoning Council meeting, and now 2 of these meetings. I'd be remiss if I didn't stand before you tonight, just based on my involvement, what I've heard from the community, what I've heard from staff, and what I've heard from both Planning and Zoning and the City Council. I'm probably guilty of letting this go too far. It's very clear to me from listening to the comments from the community and the various people of Flagstaff and the constituents that there's still a lot of work to be done on this project. What I would ask for you to make this right is the request before you, and I would like to be a little more specific in that request. But overall, you know, our intention is to be what we've been in other communities, which is a community partner and not a community adversary. The request really tonight is to come back before you at the mid-July meeting. As I said before, we've clearly got a lot of work to do, which would probably include fundamental changes to this project. Those aren't decisions that happen quickly. So I would request to come before you in mid-July with a plan of action, a timetable for those changes, and how we would reapproach, if you will, our engagement process with both the broader community and La Plaza Vieja and the Arrowhead Trailer Park residents. So it's with that request I respectfully stand before you and also before the community that's here tonight this evening.
Okay. Ms. Barrett?
So, Mr. Young, I want you to know that I've had so many sleepless nights over this, and that I've been involved in land use in the Coconino County and Flagstaff for 10 years. And I've seen controversial cases come before both of those bodies and the City Council and the County Board of Supervisors. And I have to tell you that I have never really seen anything like this. And I found it to just be horrifying and also deeply saddening and deeply troubling. I really care about the people in Flagstaff, and I care about the future of this community, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what your team was thinking. And so my question to you, based on the request that you've put for us tonight, is why should we trust you? And also, can you please, and I'm not trying to embarrass you.
Sure.
This is hard for me to say, and I'm putting my heart on my sleeve.
Sure.
So why should we trust you, and why did you sue Vice Mayor Evans? I know you didn't. I need an answer to that.
Hold on, let's be respectful to the council members that are asking questions and to Mr. Young, who has agreed to come forward here.
Sure, and that's a very fair question. What I'm suggesting is really a fundamental change to our entire approach, and I think some of that mistrust is about you know, the composition of our team and, you know, as I said, sort of fundamentally how we've approached this project, and that's part of what we would like the time to really reassess. And I would like to, it's a decision that really gets made at the highest level within my organization, and I would like to come back with something that we can stand by and is clear and definitive and gives you the comfort that this will be a vastly different process. As far as, obviously, Landmark Properties did not sue Vice Mayor Evans. I think part of what let me go back. When I said let's go too far, I think we need to have some discussions within our team about some of the decisions we've made and the actions we've taken, and really kind of soul search on whether those were the right things to do.
So I guess the other thing that I'm not sure I understand is what can you really accomplish in 2 weeks?
That's part of my, well, first of all,
Because you're at the letter
Sure.
said postponed until July 15th, so I just really want to understand what you think can happen in 2 weeks.
Sure, and what I'm asking for is to come before you on July 15th with a plan, not with a completely redesigned project. I will say, in a matter of a week to 2 weeks leading up to the P&Z meeting, and then from P&Z until now, we have made major changes even during those 1 to 2 week periods, that fundamental redesigns of our project to address some of the concerns that we heard. So there are major changes that are capable in a relatively short period of time. But I think the level to which we're talking about right now is something that we would want to lay out the plan for you at the July 15th meeting, and then start to act on that plan from then on, including a timetable so that this wouldn't be an open-ended process.
Well, let me ask you, we always take our summer break. July 15th is the last meeting, and then we will be back August 25th. Would you want a postponement till after the break?
I mean,
It's up to you.
What we're requesting, I mean, we understand that this process has gone on a long time. The timetable I've requested is what we're sticking to.
Just July 15th? Okay. Ms. Evans?
Okay, so I think, a couple of questions and maybe a comment or two. Mauricio mentioned that they have been going through this since last October. And he mentioned how stressful this is going to be. You're asking us for a 2-week postponement with no guarantee that you're going to come back and scrap this project, change this project, or actually go and listen to the community. So we're going to put these guys through another 2 weeks with a letter that they got from a landlord saying that no matter what we do here at this dais, they're going to be in the street. I don't think that's fair to them. I think they need a little bit more than in 2 weeks we're going to come back with a slightly better plan. I think they need a little bit more assurance than that. And I'm trying to figure out like how much I can ask about another issue, but the question that Celia asked you, you did not answer, and I didn't understand it. And that had to do with the stress you people have put me through. You've put me through a lot of stress. You put my kid through a lot of stress. Okay, and I think it's been completely unnecessary. So, since my lawyer just stood up, I'm going to move on to the next question. Yeah, I'm going to move on to the next one, because I guess that was the sign. I think that you need to be a little bit more specific about the reason behind this request and what exactly you want, because right now I don't think you've done enough. You really haven't. I think that you're trying, but the community is like, let's just be done with this.
Sure. And I go back to, you said what kind of changes. I mean, we're talking about major changes to the project based on what we've heard through the process. But as Councilwoman Barrett's said, I mean, these are going to be things that are fundamental to the project and can't be made on days or hours' time. So the reason I'm committing to having a timetable is I do believe by that time we'll have a clear understanding of what needs to be done in terms of outreach. I think we'll have a clear understanding of what needs to be done in terms of project design. And I mean, those are items that I do think are going to take, and notwithstanding the fact that, as I mentioned before, we had made major changes in a relatively short period of time. So the project is continually changing as we receive feedback. As I said, the project that was 4 weeks ago is not the project that is today. It's two major versions different than that. So, we're talking about even deeper changes. I think we need the time to be able to figure out, A, how long that's going to take, B, if that's going to satisfy the community, and also the actions that can be taken to assist the residents of Arrowhead Park. And that's a time-intensive process.
Let me ask, if there are major changes, to use your words, then I'm thinking then the project needs to go back to P&Z and we need to have additional public hearings. Because people have the right to comment on the major changes.
And Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Burke?
that is the process.
Yeah.
But then what about
So-
the people that have been doing this since October?
Well, what I'm getting at is if you intend to make major changes, I'm not sure that a continuance will accomplish what you want to accomplish.
No, but I think the purpose is really to come, rather than make changes and come back and see if the changes are acceptable, it's to come forward with a plan of action, and also, not just changes to the project, but a plan for doing a better job of, again, engaging the neighborhood, engaging the residents, and fundamentally changing what we've done so far.
Well, and there again, if it's fundamental changes, I'm going to ask Ms. DeAndrea if that would not have to start over in the process.
Mayor and council members, yes, the public would be entitled to see the new project and comment on it. And if this is just brought without that opportunity, that's not fair to the community. It would be a problem legally. You all, of course, have the ability to accept or deny the motion to continue, tonight. So you don't have to allow the continuance. But if you do continue and the changes are going to be substantial, then in my opinion, you need to start the process again.
Okay, and would that be back to planning and zoning? I'm assuming?
Mayor and council members, that is our standard process, yes.
All right, so what I'm getting at is if you come to us 2 weeks or 4 weeks with substantial changes or fundamental changes, we could not act on it.
Understood. What I was really referring to and coming back in the mid-July meeting was kind of coming to you with a plan of action, not with a example of a redesign of the project, a plan of action for reapproaching the outreach, for getting public input, and we certainly conceptual changes to the project based on what we've heard, but we wouldn't suggest at that point coming back with a project that we were resubmitting in its final form at that time.
Ms. Barrett?
So I know we're talking here about procedure, but there's something that I do not still understand, and that is you're asking for a do-over, right?
Well, we're asking to improve on let me clarify for 1 second. I think that there's a perception difference from ourselves and from the community about what has gone into the process. And the result. What I'm suggesting is we go back to the process and try and improve on that to get a better result. So if that's a do-over, that is what I'm essentially saying.
So the other thing that I still don't really understand is why should I trust you?
Sure.
Well, Ms. Barrett, I don't know that that's a fair question.
I think it is.
I think that's almost a personal attack. And
Folks,
Hold on, we don't
this
do
is
this.
not an
Whoa.
interactive.
Hold
Okay,
on,
so-
hold on.
so-
We don't conduct our business by mob rule here. So if you would, keep your comments to yourself.
Right.
And we have some legal and other issues here that we need to resolve.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I can't ask that question, then I'll reframe it, and I'll ask something else.
Please.
Because this is very serious, and this is a question of trust, in my individual opinion. But if I can't ask about trust, then I would like you to explain to me why I should place my confidence in you. What are you going to do different so that I believe that we're not going to have a do-over in terms of a process? I know you're telling me that Landmark is going to, I think, have a different team, or if not have a different team, the same team will have a different approach. So what you're asking me to do is take your word that things are going to be better.
Correct.
Is that what you're asking me to do?
That is exactly what I'm asking you.
So I guess the other thing, maybe you could clarify for me, are you going to have a different team, or are you going to have a local team so that there's more connection, perhaps some people who understand how we work and the values in Flagstaff, or is your intent to have a Phoenix team and a Georgia team and no one in Flagstaff?
No, our intent is to have a completely different team and to have a team that's more sensitive and more focused on local issues, what's going on in the community, et cetera.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Young, might I suggest the possibility that if that you have the right to withdraw your application, you're not limited by the one-year rule if it's not officially denied. And I would ask you to consider that if that's a possible option. Ms. Evans?
So Councilmember Barris might not be able to ask this question, but I think I can. Why should I trust you?
Really, that's really not fair.
I think it is fair. Maybe it's not fair to you, or maybe it's not a question that you need to ask, Mayor, with all due respect. But let me be blunt. Right now, I am being sued by a member of this team because I set up a meeting to mediate a solution between members of the trailer park and this developer. And so now I'm being asked to postpone, to delay, to redo. I think it's a very fair question.
Well, if you're going to bring in your litigation, then I'm wondering if you don't have a conflict of interest on that. Because now you're involving the litigation, whereas before we were trying to keep it separate.
I think it's a fair question.
Mayor, I might ask
Right.
for a recess. I think we're getting a little at an emotional pitch that is losing the decorum of the meeting.
Mayor, if
Go
I
ahead.
may, if I may add, given the circumstances, I would formally request to withdraw our project for consideration.
All right, and you have I think, Ms. DeAndrea, the applicant has the absolute right to do that. We don't have any vote on that. All right. Okay, if the application then is withdrawn, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.